My name is Rebecca Bustamante. I'm an Associate Dean in the Cal State Long Beach College of Education. And I want to welcome you on this late Friday afternoon to all of our participants. Thank you very much for joining us. This is our last session of our EDWeek online. So this week we decided to go ahead and take some of our typical planned in-person EDWeek events and try to put them at least accessible to you all. We've seen a lot of interest particularly in topics that have to do with career development and career readiness. So today we're going to be conducting a presentation and give you a lot of time to also ask questions about LinkedIn. We know that many of you have professional profiles. And you've done that, maybe you've even done it for online dating or something, but very often we don't think about our professional profiles. And LinkedIn is one of those platforms that is specifically for professionals and for linking with other educators in your cases. And so I've invited actually my daughter Isabella Bustamante, who has extensive experience using LinkedIn in a professional capacity and has worked in communications and is currently a graduate student herself, getting her master's, to share with you some tips today on creating an image, a professional image online. So before I have Isabella take over, I just want to formally thank Wendy Muzian, who you can see here. Do you want to wave, Wendy? Many of you know her. She's our outreach coordinator and has done an absolutely fabulous job of organizing EDWeek and putting EDWeek online this week. And then we have two of our student ambassadors who are also educators in training. Teacher, we have Elise and Izzy, we call her. And they're going to be moderating today. So we decided for this particular session, we're going to leave the chat open. So we'd like you to engage and pay attention to the tips that are being presented, but there'll be some points where you might need to do some reflection or sharing. And Izzy and Elise will help us address your questions. Okay, and we may stop at certain points just to take those questions. All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Isabella Bustamante. And I know she needs to share her screen, so we'll just give it a moment.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Bustamante. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Thank you for being on a call from 4 to 5 on a Friday. I know that's tough. Hopefully this won't be too painful. It's supposed to be fun, collaborative. I'm learning a lot of stuff on LinkedIn still. It's a really dynamic process of professional development. So hopefully we can learn from each other. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Can you guys see my screen and hear me all right? All right. Can everyone hear me now? All right, great. So we're going to do a quick guide to enhancing your professional profile on LinkedIn. Thank you for the introduction. I am a communications manager by training. I worked at HP for 3.5 years in their communications department, specifically in their sustainability development department. And I also did a lot of training on professional development in my spare time as part of a program for young employees that I was a part of for 2.5 years. I'm currently a master's student myself and currently using LinkedIn to seek new opportunities ahead. So I'm on the same boat as a lot of you. So first we're gonna do a little bit of an overview of, oops, sorry guys. The key points we're going to cover is why is LinkedIn relevant or important to you? How can we make the most of the LinkedIn features? Maybe you already have a LinkedIn profile, maybe you don't yet and you're starting anew, so I'm sorry if some of this is redundant. But we're going to look at what some of those key tips are to revamping your existing profile, and then how you can bridge a connection, and of course, plenty of time for Q&A. So for those of you who don't know, LinkedIn is one of the most popular social media platforms right now. It is at its core a social media platform still, largely, but largely for professional connections. So it was designed to make people communicate through online on different business topics and different industries, to share their experiences and their resumes. They make it really easy for you to upload your resume and apply to jobs directly through their platform. And they're also an intermediary for many other companies, where it takes you directly to their job application platforms. So they're kind of a catch-all online service. There's 30 million organizations and companies on LinkedIn currently, and 51% of college-educated Americans have a profile. It's quite common now for recruiters. One of the first things that recruiters do is they look up your name on LinkedIn. So it's kind of really your first reference point to anyone that's that you're applying to. That's the first touch point that they see. So it's really important to make a good impression, and to be concise, and to come across in your LinkedIn profile as the professional that you want recruiters to see. So of course, LinkedIn is useful to find a job, but it's useful for a lot of things as well. As I mentioned before, it's important for connections. So you can connect through LinkedIn with educators, with administrators, with education-related companies around the world. And this can lead to opportunities for personal growth down the line, in the short term or the long term. Even if you are happy or in a job that you are satisfied with, it doesn't hurt to reach out to people in your industry. You never know when down the line you might need to, want to branch out or do something different, or move to a different geographical location, or maybe collaborate with someone on a project. So LinkedIn is a really good source to find people that you wouldn't be able to find in other settings or contexts. It's also a great way to build your brand. It's an easy way to get visibility to a lot of people really quickly. And I'm talking about both your personal brand, but also your organizational brand. So if you're working for an organization for Cal State Long Beach, you'll notice, and we'll look at their page in LinkedIn, that it's a way to get information out about what you're doing, who the people you're involved with. You can tag your collaborators, and to get information out to the world in a really quick way. And for your own personal brand, it's a really easy way for you to quickly list all of your experience, all of your skills, what you bring to the table, what you're passionate about, in a single place that people can get a really nice snapshot of who you are and what you're interested in. So if you're actively seeking a role, they also have an entire job platform. I mean, LinkedIn, you have people's profiles, but you also have listings in real time of jobs all over the world. And you can filter those jobs by geography, by title, by location, by different keywords. And we're gonna do an exercise where we can see that. And then news and information. So, I mean, you might be on Twitter or Instagram, or be subscribed to different news outlets. LinkedIn is yet another platform where people post information. Depending on who you have on your network, you might get different types of information. Of course, be cognizant about who's posting and what that information is coming from, especially now where there's a lot of unfiltered content. But it's a good opportunity for you to put your own content out there. And LinkedIn makes it really easy for you to post information. You can post news articles, or you can just forward and repost other news articles. And they kind of save it for you so that other people can see the kinds of things that you're interested in. So a quick tour of just the LinkedIn platform. When you go onto your LinkedIn platform, you're going to see kind of 5 major buckets. The first 4 are your home, which is a news feed style, where you can see and post updates, articles by people in your network. And then your network is your actual LinkedIn connections. So you want to aim to get as many LinkedIn connections as possible, unlike your maybe more social media, more personal content where you might want to keep those circles more limited to friends and family. LinkedIn profile, people are aiming at getting higher numbers so that you can get your content out to as many people as possible in your industry or field so that you can get high visibility. And LinkedIn actually motivates you to do this in some ways, in the sense that if you have over 500 connections, they just put 500 plus, and that's kind of a threshold for people on LinkedIn, is getting those 500 connections, so that it doesn't show that you have 50 connections or 100. If you have 500 or more, it means you're a pretty active LinkedIner. And then you have your jobs, which is your job postings, and we'll take a look at that in a second. And then finally, we have the private message app of the website, which is where you can reach out to people you've worked with, currently work with, would like to collaborate on, or otherwise find inspirational or interesting. You can message them privately so that it won't show up to anybody else. So I've just pulled up my own LinkedIn, which is going to look very differently from all of yours. Even my industry is slightly different, but really the motive is quite similar. So as I mentioned, you have your home profile, which is essentially a news feed similar to Facebook, but hopefully people are posting interesting things that are relevant to your professional interests. You can also go into your settings and you can filter what kind of content you want, if you want to limit ads and things like that. But really you just have, and you can do searches by hashtags. You can search for groups that are interesting to you. So if you go to Cal State Long Beach, you can follow, so I'm already following the university, but you can follow Cal State Long Beach, and then automatically when you go onto your home news feed, you'll see their recent posts, videos, some of which you might be already familiar with. And on this, any organization or and this goes for, school districts, schools that you're interested in working with, nonprofits, different organizations, as soon as you go onto their LinkedIn profile, you can learn a little bit about the organization. They have access to their website, to their phone number. You can get a little bit of insight where they're located. And then you can actually go right away to the jobs. And instead of searching under jobs, you can go to that organization and directly see what job postings they have, and actually type in some keywords that could narrow down your job search if you're really just interested in a specific organization. Additionally, you can look at the alumni for that organization. So this goes for both universities or companies. It'll show people that have listed on their profile the companies that they've worked for previously. And, creeping is allowed at LinkedIn. That's kind of the point. And so if you find people that are doing something that's interesting and, you want to connect with them, it's not unusual for you to click on someone's profile to look if you have any shared interests or commonalities, and then you can actually connect with them and message them directly. They might be that leverage point that you need to get access to the right person that might be hiring for the job that you like. So really LinkedIn is about playing around in the platform. You can look for a number of organizations. All of them have a lot of really useful information. And then we have the network, which is where people are going to add you, people are going to invite you on this platform. You can also follow, famous people. You can look for groups, you can create groups, you can create events, you can have pages. So a lot of those things are similar to Facebook. Although, for example, if you want to create a webinar, you can actually contact people that are in an organization you're a part of, or have the job title that you want to be speaking at a panel of the webinar you're interested in, and you can actually create a group or post in a group that you're looking for people to take part in a panel. So I'm part of this group that's part of my university. People post different articles, and then I can also start a conversation, post photos, or create an event through this platform. And then for jobs, under jobs, you can actually search by title, skill, company, location. So, this is very specific to what your interests are. But if you want to search for your next role, you want to be really specific about what some of those keywords are in the role that you're interested in. So even if you want, for example, a managerial position, you can try, manager of so and so, but you can also try, innovation or diversity and inclusion, and you don't necessarily need to put the role name, but even if the word that these keywords can show up in the descriptions of the jobs, and you can find jobs that way, and we'll work on that a little bit later in the presentation. So before we get into specifics about looking for jobs and reaching out to people, I think it's important to basically reflect on what some of the important things are of your own profile. So now that you know generally what the LinkedIn platform looks like, the most important piece that I want you guys to take away from this is how can you make your own profile a little bit better, stand out a little bit more for recruiters and also for people that you want to connect with. So these things should not look very foreign. They look quite similar to the organization of a common resume. Really, your LinkedIn profile is just an online visualization of your resume, and it gives you the option to upload your resume if you want to do that more automatically. And the key components are your photo and your tagline, a summary of who you are and what you're interested in, your experience and your skills, what your education is, and then a bunch of additional categories that you're welcome to add voluntarily. And then hopefully you could also get a recommendation on your profile because that gives you credibility in your search. So let's talk basics. Profile picture. This is actually something that people really struggle with, and it's something that turns recruiters off quite quickly. And so with your profile picture, not everyone, can get a professional headshot, and nowadays you don't really need a professional headshot, but there are, you do want to get a clear picture of your face. You want to be pretty straight to the camera, not tilting your head a lot. You want to be authentic in your photo, so you want to smile, not be too serious, and you also need a natural background. It doesn't need to be outside or inside necessarily. As you can see here, there's two different examples. One is inside and one is outside, but you want your face to be the focus. You don't want a lot of busyness in the background, and you want a clear picture of your face. So try to get a high quality photo, so no blurriness, no kind of really crazy colors or distractions, just a simple, authentic picture of yourself. And this can try to avoid selfies. You want someone else to take care of it, or at least, do the self timer where it's facing you, and try to get it in good lighting. And then the next step is really your tagline. And I forgot to mention previously, in your profile picture, LinkedIn also allows you to have a banner. And so you don't need to have a banner, but banners are just kind of an added photo that you can put either that represents your organization. So you could put like a Cal State Long Beach campus. In this case, I'm in sustainability. I put just a simple green leaf. There's this application called Unsplash that has really high quality, beautiful photos that photographers put, and it's open source and it's online available to anyone. So if you're looking for a really high quality photo, you can search almost anything under the sun, and on Unsplash you can download it for free and put that up on your banner. The tagline. So what is a tagline? A tagline is what comes up when you search for someone. So, say I'm looking for a school counselor that is, focused on diversity and inclusion. You want those keywords to pop up when recruiters search for your profile. And so your tagline doesn't necessarily have to be what you do. It could be what your current position is, or that you're a master's student seeking employment, but you really want to put some of those keywords. In my case, it's ethical sourcing and social impact, those keywords that people looking for specific roles will be able to search for, and then you'll be able to pop up and stand out among many. So it can be your current position. So if you're a school counseling intern, go ahead and put that. But if you can put more descriptive words, all the better. You can also put your status, and don't be afraid to say that you're actually seeking a full-time position. That's what this platform is for. You can put that you're a recent graduate with high experience in a certain area seeking this type of work. Okay, so I've been talking a lot, and I don't know where you guys are on your LinkedIn profile, but I think we could all use a moment of reflection and to craft our own headline. So think about if you were in the position of a recruiter and you're looking for a job, you know, what would they need to search to find you? What is your headline? This should only be 5 to 10 words, one sentence that describes you. You don't need to share it, but you're welcome to if you'd like. I just want you to take a minute to think about what your headline is. And if you already have one, whether you could make it better or whether you feel proud of it to show it to friends and family and recruiters, just take a minute to reflect on what your tagline is. Okay.
Did you want them to share out in the chat or raise their hand to share out?
Yeah, does anyone want to share what their headline is?
Do we have the raise hand function?
Yeah, there's a raise hand function, or if you want to write it in the chat, we can say it out loud as well. Anyone have a really good one that can inspire us?
Hi, I'm Jilly, by the way. I just had more of a question for headlines.
Okay.
I've kind of heard them both ways. Mine currently it's just marketing student at CSULB. So I don't know if it should be more simple or if it should maybe have your goal in there too, like maybe what kind of job you're searching for.
Yeah, it's okay to keep your tagline simple as long as we're going to get into summaries in a moment. So if you have, let's see, do you have a summary as well, Jill, in your LinkedIn?
I do. I've seen a couple summaries where they write it in third person, where they just kind of say their name. I personally have mine in first person, but I kind of struggle with what to put with about, because I've heard that some people put more of personal hobbies in there, while others say it should be more professional.
Yeah. I would hear, because it's your LinkedIn and it's open to anyone, I think that it's okay to put more tailored summaries or abouts when you kind of know something about who the person is that's recruiting you. But because it's your LinkedIn, it is important to keep it simple, concise, and professional. So I think your tagline of marketing student at CSULB is completely accurate. And then in your about section, you can elaborate a little bit about what your experience is, what you're passionate about, and what you're seeking, right? And that's really hard to do in a really short amount of words. That's the challenge. But that's where you can get just a little bit more creative with your summary. And I personally prefer the first person. You're creating your profile, maybe people that are presidents of universities or, in high-powered positions are being introduced in their bios in their third person, and so they tend to put that in their bios. But I've heard from recruiters that they prefer, the first person, and that and to keep it very concise, unless unless requested otherwise in the specific application. So I think the conciseness of your tagline is great. I mean, that's really what this exercise is sometimes. And then the about section, how would you maybe elaborate your marketing student position in your about?
I just kind of have, I'm just starting my marketing classes. So part of my about section just kind of says I'm a Long Beach State undergrad pursuing a degree in business marketing. I am a skilled written and verbal communicator. And then I just said I enjoy storytelling and, developing new skills. But I feel like I can kind of elaborate on that more, even if I don't have a lot of actual marketing experience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So 2 key words are action and then intention, right? So I like that you put a little bit about what you are currently doing. So you have to, if you have any previous experience, you can ramp it up by using action words, and then you can kind of foreshadow what action is what you've done in the past, and then inspire what you're looking to do in the future. So let's go ahead and go into the summaries. There's 3 different types of summaries. There's mission-based summaries, which is what are you passionate about? And these are more of the storytelling, right? Which is a little bit more elaborate, which is where you're kind of demonstrating a little bit of creative writing. These are good for roles that are more creative, that maybe allow for more creative expression. So you want to talk about what your mission is, what your purpose is, what you're hoping to get out of the next experience that you're going into. These aren't my samples. These are recycled, I must admit, but this sample says, every teacher has stories to tell, stories that will not only engage, inform, surprise, delight, and demonstrate passion, but also demonstrate student learning. I help my students be successful by cultivating curiosity and a love for learning. My specialties include teaching English learners, developing engaging lessons, and engaging students. So in your summary on your LinkedIn profile, totally acceptable to have a mission-based summary. If you're maybe not actively seeking a position that requires specific skill set, but that you're wanting people to get some insight about what your style is. There is a personality-based summary, which some people tend to go too deep in, because it's important that you get a sense of who you are without getting lost in the weeds. And so this summary, personally, I think is a little bit too long. It says, when I was 21, I climbed Mount Everest, not metaphorically. I literally climbed Mount Everest, right? So this is a story about, and it's an anecdote that gives some insight into this person's personality, almost like a summary that you would, or descriptive writing that you would include in some sort of application. And then he says, now I put that perseverance to work as a senior account manager for Polar. I don't have to climb any mountains, but I have to move them. I'm well versed in negotiations, planning and development, relationship management, operations, and logistics. So a little bit of a longer example, but gives some insight on the personality. What we're looking for really is the short and sweet summary. So this is what time and time again, those could be good examples for maybe, like I said, more creative avenues where you might want to give the person, your audience, a little bit more information. But really, because you're putting yourself out there to such a broad audience, you really want something that's short and sweet, what they call the elevator pitch. So what you could tell someone in 30 seconds about what you've done, so the actions that you've done, who you are, and which is maybe one fact about yourself, and then what you're looking for. So what value you can bring to the table. So in this sample, we have first-year graduate student at California State University, Long Beach, interested in pursuing a career in counseling at the community college level, seeking internships or part-time positions to apply my experience. So being clear about what you're looking for. My interest lies in helping students transfer to their university of choice and helping students succeed in their academic or professional goals. Graduated from UC Irvine with a BA in psychology and social behavior. This isn't something that you wouldn't have to include in your LinkedIn because they'd already be able to see that in your education section of your profile. So this is an activity that I encourage you guys to spend some time on, send to the people in your community, send to your mentors, send to your friends and family, and get a lot of feedback. And even though it's really short and concise, it's something that once you feel good about and that once you reduce and own, you can reuse over and over again in your resumes, when you're introducing yourself, when you're giving presentations. It kind of becomes that bio that you own. And that becomes kind of your staple in your LinkedIn. But it's definitely difficult. The rules I follow are, the actions that I've done, the one fact about myself, and then the aspiration that I'm hoping to achieve. So a little bit more of that mission, the mission and purpose, the personality, and the value all in one. So here we have the additional components of your LinkedIn include your education. Please make sure to double check your degree title. If you have a Bachelor of Science or Arts, it's up to you how detailed you want to be in including certifications under your education, what your GPA was, any honorable mentions, your concentrations or additional degrees or classes that you took. It gives you the options for all of those. You're welcome to add special projects under your education. So if you collaborated with professors or did research, even presented something at a conference, or have any other academic accolades, you can add them in, and you can also tag other people. You can have them comment. The heartier and the more information you can give, the better understanding your audience can get about who you are and what you've done. And that's something that you can also not always include or fit in just a 1 or 2 page resume. So with your experience, you want to add bullets about what you've accomplished and what you've learned and what you did in that role without being too wordy. Similar guidelines to a resume, you want to be really precise about what exactly you accomplished in your role. So a lot of people tend to list activities. So I did this, I called this many people, I managed this campaign, I reported to so-and-so. Those are all great things, and you should be proud of all of those things, but they don't really show what value you can add to your future employer. So if you actually were able to call 100 people to achieve what was your end result? We're looking at impact metrics here. So were you able to gain funding for your organization as a result of those calls? Were you able to increase enrollment? Were you able to increase the amount of diversity students? Were you able to organize, or do a brand campaign that brought more value? Did you affect a person's life in a specific way that you could elaborate on in an interview? Try to make action-oriented bullets and add in some statistics about what specifically you did that brought value to that or to your university or your club or your organization or the internship that you did. The more the merrier for the details. If you can add in pictures, presentations that you did. Of course, you have to ask permission. If you work for companies specifically, they're really iffy about how much you can share publicly on what you did for proprietary reasons. And so make sure to check with your employer whenever you're trying to vamp up your LinkedIn.
I'm going to add something here really important for teachers and educators in schools is to remember that we always have to have permission. If you have pictures of children in your photo, you might want to make sure you're blurring them or that you can't really see their faces, maybe their backs. So remember, that's a real important thing when dealing with students under the age of 18, or anyone actually, but especially students under the age of 18.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, with photos, make sure you've gotten consent or permission from the people in the photos that you're adding. And this goes for not only LinkedIn, but any other public outlet on the internet. As far as skills, we have a number of different types of skills that you should include them all. In your resume, when you might need to scale down the amount of information you have on your resume, you might not put all of your soft skills, but you want to put on your LinkedIn, people can actually endorse you for skills like public speaking, communication, being structurally competent, your a number of things, and you can actually request that your LinkedIn network do that for you, and you can do it for others. You also want to put your technical skills, any sort of, if you are savvy with online tools, even especially now with COVID, having that expertise with online teaching, using Google Classroom, using collaborative platforms is going to be really useful and really helpful for your future employer, for you to not have a huge learning curve in that area. Definitely show that off. And then if you have any specific certifications, language skills, assessment skills, lesson planning, examples of skills that you've acquired, or just additional classes that you've taken outside of your curriculum, feel free to mention those also. Sometimes we do those sorts of things to the side and we forget that we did them, but they do help you set you apart. Other additional categories you can add to your LinkedIn are projects. So if you have projects even in your classwork as part of your curriculum, once again, getting the right permissions, but even if you can write a manuscript or a blog or a summary of what you did. Sometimes we think, we're very insular in our work, and you might have written something really meaningful or creative as part of your classwork. You don't, be fearful about putting your work out there and your writing out there. There's no limits. People are publishing on LinkedIn all the time, the kind of work that they're doing, and it's a way to reduce redundancies and to find people in places that are doing the type of work that we're interested in or already working on. So you can showcase your work on there without having any maybe formal publishing. LinkedIn still allows you to write articles and blogs and upload things so that you can put your information out there. Like I said, you can also put your courses, other organizations you've been a part of, whether as part of your school, you can tag it under your education, or you can add it additionally. And then your language skills, how you can communicate with others, and then also specifically if you speak additional languages, that's really important to put on your profile as well. Okay, so let's take a look actually before connecting. So this is just, we're looking at an example here. Blaine Watson was actually a panelist at one of the other sessions you guys hosted previously this week. He's a principal at Dominguez High School. And like you said, Jill, tagline here, pretty simple, pretty straightforward of what his position, what his role is: principal at Dominguez High School at Compton Unified School District, also an adjunct faculty at Cal State University Dominguez Hills. Pretty straightforward. So he actually does not have a summary, but a summary is apparently the number one thing that recruiters look for when they're looking at LinkedIn, because they want to get that snapshot of who you are and what you've done. And you can, on your experience, you can put a summary of everything you've done in your experience. Once you get to a lot of different places where you've worked, you might reduce the amount of information you put under each one. remember, we want this to be a snapshot, but if you can add in additional information for the places that you've done, it really shows that you've put work into your profile, that you've done a lot of work with a lot of people. And so, feel free to either list just the experience if you're just getting started. That's a really good first step. But if you're able to showcase other things that you've done within those experiences, that's always better. So we have our education here, like I said, licenses and certifications, skills and endorsements. You can endorse other people and get endorsed. And then if you've worked for someone where they can speak on behalf of you and the good work and collaboration that you've done, it really helps to have received a recommendation on LinkedIn, because people can directly go to who you reported to. Like I said, it gives you a sense of credibility. They're able to say nice things about you, and that builds trust when recruiters are looking for candidates. You can also follow a lot of interest groups or specific people that you're interested in. Okay. So then what if I, find Blaine Watson's profile, I want to connect with him. What is a good way to connect with someone who you don't know? I think there's maybe some fear involved in reaching out to people outside of our network that we're not familiar with. So there's a few things you can do to actually connect with people on LinkedIn. It's not strange to have looked at their profile, or to look at their research, or to look at people's work. When you're reaching out to someone, you want to find a detail or information that catches their attention and that makes them interested or motivated in writing to you back. So when you're trying to connect with someone new, find something that you found interesting in their profile, or something that is similar to you if you were both part of the same organization at different times, or if you see something on their profile that catches your eye or is interesting to you, or they live or work in the place that you're hoping to work at, you can say, hello, I noticed that you've also worked at this NGO, or I just read an article about the great work this NGO is doing. I would love to pick your brain or get your thoughts on this specific thing. That's a good way to catch their attention. If you say, hi, I'm this and this, and go on about yourself without any clear intention, or if you're not trying to connect with them or bring anything out from them, they might not respond. You want to be concise. You only have a certain amount of characters, so be short and sweet with the way that you reach out to people. LinkedIn doesn't even let you be extremely elaborative, but you hopefully want to catch their attention quickly and then elaborate and continue the conversation through the chat later on. And then if they do agree and they agree to talk to you, you're the one that's reaching out to this person, and you're bridging this relationship, and you're trying to either find a mentor or a partner, or just want to learn about something this person's doing, but you're in control of this relationship. And so you have to really follow through, and then set an intention or purpose of what you want to get out of that conversation, set up the Zoom meeting, set up the call, and really follow it through, because this is part of your professional development and growth. Are there any questions so far?
It looks like Jillian has her hand up. Jillian, is that from the last time, or is that do you have a question?
That was from the
Before. Okay.
the descriptions for your experience.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
I was just wondering how much would be too much, because you said a snapshot of maybe like a bullet or two of each description. So would you maybe put like one or two instead of a paragraph for each one?
Yeah, so usually rules of 3. You don't want more than 3 bullets. And if you can keep it in bulleted format, that's better, just easier on the eye, easier to read. You do want complete sentences, and try to avoid run-on sentences and repetition.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a couple of people have asked me if LinkedIn Premium is worth it. LinkedIn Premium is a subscription version of LinkedIn, and it adds a number of additional features such as online professional development classes, insights into who's viewing your profile. So, you know, if you sometimes people view your profile and they come up as recruiter at Cal State Long Beach or recruiter at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and you can't see who the person is, so you don't know who's reaching out to you. You know, LinkedIn Premium allows you to see everyone who's looking at your profile, and you also get kind of a broken down statistics of how many people have viewed your profile, where they come from, who they are, when they look at it, things like that. So if you're actively seeking for a job, you might want to get that level of information. LinkedIn does allow for a 30-day trial, and so you could do it for a bit and then cancel it. You can see people that are even not in your network, you can connect with them, whereas some people put their profile private. LinkedIn kind of breaks some of those thresholds. I don't think that it's necessary. You can still get a lot of the platform even without LinkedIn Premium. In fact, if you're looking at just professional development videos and further information, there is a LinkedIn Learning tool and platform, which has thousands of videos and courses, and some of them you have to have LinkedIn a premium for, but others are completely free. So depending on what you're interested in, if you even things as simple as goal setting or market research, dealing with difficult people, there's, you know, you can use keywords to search for different classes, and that might be a good resource or tool, whether you're looking for a job or not. So that's something that maybe some people don't know about, is this LinkedIn Learning tool. They also have salary comparisons that you can use, and a couple of other features. If you are actually looking for people and you're hiring, so you're on the other end of the stick, you can most certainly use LinkedIn to post a job, to advertise a job, to find people, to have LinkedIn help you find you people as well. Okay, so I know I walked through a few things pretty quickly. I did want to allow some time for questions. This is information that was passed on to me that you have I really recommend that you guys use your Career Development Center. I certainly used mine a lot when I was at Cal, and then again right now through my master's program. These people have a full-time job to help you get your next role. They are really well connected on campus. You know, when you're outside of the university setting, you don't have that kind of support and that kind of help. So if you can set up an appointment to review your LinkedIn account, I'm not sure if Wendy, maybe you can speak to whether they're doing online appointments or something like that, but there's this information about the Career Development Center and CED Ambassador at CSULB.edu. I think we'll also take your resume and cover letters and give you feedback. There's a free service also called Resume Builder, and they give really detailed feedback on your resume. You simply upload your resume, and in a couple of days, you'll get expert advice from a resume builder, where they'll tell you exactly what action words you can change, whether the formatting passes some of these online resume screeners, and in turn, that can help you bolster your LinkedIn profile as well.
Isabel, I'm going to interject here just for a moment. We actually have our CED, our College of Education representative from the Cal State Long Beach Career Development Center. Robert, can you come on for a moment? You there? I see your name. Let's see. Yeah, maybe he could just speak a little bit more about what the Career Center does here.
Okay, am I hearable?
Yes. In terms of resume building and other kinds of reviews that the Career Development Center can do on these kinds of platforms like LinkedIn, what should people do? Should they just reach out to your office or to our College of Ed
Yeah.
ambassador? Okay.
Yeah, they can go to Kate, or they can go to our office. So either one. It just depends on whatever, if Kate's really busy, then they can go to our office. We do have half-hour appointments through SSO. They can go to the Career Link Chicklet and set up an appointment for 1/2 hour for resumes. And they can even do drop-in. So if they go to our website, there's actually still drop-in help. So they can actually go, it'll be about a 24-hour turnaround, but they can actually submit a resume and get help too.
Okay, or even to have the LinkedIn profile looked at for tips and.
Yeah, that I would do through the appointment system.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Robert,
Okay.
and thanks for being partners with the College of Education.
No problem.
Okay. Other kinds of questions in the chats? I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to monitor the chat. Questions for you there, Elise? Oops.
Hi, I can answer the questions. This is Izzy.
Okay.
Someone asked, is Resume Builder a free service?
So there is a basic service where you can upload and get free advice, and then there's different levels. So you can pay to get kind of a one-on-one consultancy with a resume expert and so on. Like most service subscriptions, there's different levels of service you can get, but there is a basic one where you can get basic resume advice.
Other questions? Here we go. Okay, because sometimes one of the reasons we wanted to offer this is often when educators are job hunting, they tend to not necessarily look at LinkedIn as an option. And so we just really wanted to encourage folks to use that as you're looking for your next position. There's such a wealth of connections that you can make there. With school leaders, with nonprofit organizations. You can also get a really good sense of people's values and what that organization or school district stands for. You can see that you can search for jobs as well. And I think that my experience is that as educators, we often underutilize a platform like LinkedIn. Because we tend to go to our same sources to look for education jobs.
And you can actually upload your resume to LinkedIn, and for all the positions that have LinkedIn Easy Apply, LinkedIn will just send your resume. It takes sometimes 2 seconds to apply. Oops, next. I won't apply to this one, but if the Easy Applies, you upload your resume, you can apply right away. Other ones, for example, senior manager, associate principal, it'll actually take you to that website's job platform or career website.
Neat.
And then so you can search within California, you can search within Long Beach.
Can you search a teacher for us and see what comes up? I know that a lot of people have anxiety about finding teaching jobs and after the COVID crisis. So
we see science teachers or PUC, principal.
Looks like a lot of the charter schools are hiring as well.
You can also see if other people in your network have worked at that school, and they go directly to the page on the school, and once again see the jobs that that university or school is recently posting, and then apply directly through the platform.
Okay.
You can see how many people have applied through LinkedIn.
Do you mind if I add something? You can also get to alumni from Cal State Long Beach too. So that's also another feature. So you can get to College of Ed alumni from Cal State Long Beach who might be on LinkedIn, and that can be very
cool. That's wonderful tip. Other questions? As we're in our last 4 minutes, we could maybe take 1 or 2 more questions. comments, feel free to go ahead and write in the chat. If you have any questions or comments, or raise your hand. Okay, I guess we don't have a lot of questions today on a late Friday. We're anxious to get going. Well, we want to thank you for all of, thank Isabella for sharing her experiences with LinkedIn with us. And I hope it was helpful. We hope it was helpful, our EDWeek team, to you all. And we thank you very much for joining us on this, again, late Friday evening. It's happy hour time now. So, but please reach out to the Career Development Center if you're interested in learning more and getting more information about using a tool like this as an educator to help you network with people and find your next position. Okay.
And our
Thank you very
services are
much.
free for 1 year once you graduate, just so you know.
Oh, good to know. Okay. And they also, I want to say the Career Development Center also does wonderful assessments, personality assessments, strengths quests, lots of other kinds of assessments. Thank you very much. And thanks again to our outreach team, Elise, Izzy, and Wendy for putting this all together, and to Robert for collaborating with us. Have a great weekend, you guys.